Roll call, please.
Oh, sorry, I jumped the gun. I wasn't as ready as I thought. We are going live now.
Meeting come to order, Segovia City Council, virtual meeting, Monday, August 10, 2020, 6 p.m. Roll call, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Colberg,
Here.
Mr. Campbell? No, Mr. Campbell. Mr. Morrison?
Here.
Miss Rojas?
Here.
Mr. Nathan?
He said here, we can't hear him though.
Mr. Nathan? I can't hear or see
We
him.
can't hear you, George.
Mr. Nathan? And Miss Sweat?
Here.
Join me in pledge of allegiance, please.
One moment, please. I apologize. My computer is having technical difficulties. Give me one moment. I've completely frozen. Okay, let's try this one more time.
Can you hear us, George? Yeah, we can't hear you.
How about now?
Yeah, now we can.
Okay. Headset issue,
Okay.
sorry.
Okay, and my problem is as well. Here we go.
I pledge allegiance to the flag.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands,
Republic for which it stands. One nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with
with liberty and justice for all.
Excuse the absence of Jeremiah now with us.
It does not appear so, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Agenda approval, please.
I'll make a motion to accept tonight's agenda of August 10th, 2020.
Second.
All those in favor, Colberg,
Aye.
Campbell, Morrison,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
Nathan,
Aye.
Sweat.
Aye.
Heidi, you want to do consent agenda, please?
Sure thing, Mr. Mayor. For this evening's consent agenda, it consists of the minutes of the regular meeting, July 27th, 2020. Ordinance introduction for ordinance 2103, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Seldovia, Alaska, amending chapter 18.20 definitions, the zoning districts in chapters 18.32, 18.36, 18.40, 18.44, 18.48, 18.52, 18.56, 18.60, and 18.64 definitions, and adopting chapter 1870 land use tables. And B, ordinance 2104, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Seldovia, Alaska, adopting chapter 11.07 special events.
Thank you. Get a motion.
Make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Second,
Second.
All those in favor, Colberg,
Aye.
Morrison,
Aye.
Rojas,
aye.
Nathan,
Aye.
Sweat.
Aye.
Mayor proclamations, none. Public presentation, prior notice. We have anybody from the public? Heidi?
Not for prior notice, Mr. Mayor.
Public presentation for items not on agenda. Public has 3 minutes.
You see a hand raised in the public.
Okay.
Miss Laurel Hiltz, you're on the line now.
Thank you so much. Are you able to hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. And Heidi, I'm not exactly sure how to ensure that I don't get feedback of myself. I'm going to try this. Can you hear me as I talk now?
Yes, that's better.
Okay, thank you. All right. So I wanted to share.
There's some kind of static.
It's horrible.
Go ahead, try again, please.
Okay, how's that?
That's good. First of all, who
Great.
are you?
This is Laurel Hiltz.
Okay.
279 Shoreline Drive. Thank you. So I wanted to share from Seldovia Village Tribe in relation to the ongoing response to coronavirus and just where SVT Health and Wellness continues to be in regards to our service to patients and to the community. And so just in a refresher, I guess, that SVT Health and Wellness continues to be able to provide testing for patients who come to the health center. And our protocol and process is that when an individual comes, they will go through a screening process, typically first over the phone and then prior to entering the building. When they have an appointment with a healthcare provider, if the healthcare provider deems that a sample be taken to be tested, then they will do that. And then the test gets sent out. And there's different ways that the tests are checked. The samples are checked around the state, whether with the state lab or through South Peninsula Hospital or Alaska Native Medical Center or a rapid ID test. So there's 4 different ways. And then once those tests have gone and been identified, whether or not a person is negative in their result or positive, then the protocol, of course, going forward, if it's a positive, is that the patient isolate and then working with the health center, a plan for their care would be put into place. But as we've been going along, since it feels like at least since the first meeting we had on March 11th with the borough and other agencies involved, we've felt that the feeling has been that for the community, it's important that Seldovians know if there is a positive case here. And so Seldovia Village Tribe holds steady with that. And so our commitment is that if we are informed of a positive case, then it would be our intent to communicate that to the city of Seldovia management as well as to the borough, and so that we could collaborate together. And of course, the state of Alaska would be notified because they get those notifications of all positives. And we would collaborate together to ensure that our community is aware, one, that there's a positive in the community, two, be advised of how best to go about our lives, whether or not we encourage people to quarantine and do contact tracing, et cetera. And then to look at whether or not community-wide testing is needed. And a really great example is the city and borough of Yakutat. It's a one town, city / borough, and they actually did have coronavirus show up in their community. They had 5 positives. They did a really good job of effectively mitigating that, doing community-wide testing, and they have passed their 14 days, and they have completely managed to stop the progress of that. So that's from Seldovia Village Tribe. Just want you to know that that's our commitment. We remain steadfast with that we would collaborate with the city and with the borough and the state to make sure that the community knows. And that's very specifically if it's a test that the report is coming back to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? If not, committee and advisory board reports. Do we have any reports? Heidi, do you know?
Not at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Public hearing, ordinance 21-02, an ordinance city council, city of Sedonia, Alaska, amending 2.04.030B to allow the telephonic and web hospital participation for the city of Sedonia City Council and public during city council meetings. Heidi?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is in your packet, regular packet, pages 65 and 66. It's a short ordinance just amending that Title II, Section 2 or 2.04030B, which previously did not allow for telephonic participation from the public. Instead of doing an emergency ordinance that would only last for a limited amount of time, we felt like it would be prudent to open those rules indefinitely for the time being, seeing as this Zoom system seems to be working well and allowing council members and public to participate that aren't able to participate in person. So if this is a system that we're going to continue to use, the code change will just allow that in the future per that protocol method that the city clerk has designated, which is right now being printed on the agendas when they're posted, that the public and the council both alike can participate virtually, either through a teleconference or through the web.
Any comments, council, on this item?
It looks good to me. I think we've already discussed this. I don't know if we discussed it fully, but we've discussed some of this before.
Anyone else from the council?
Vivian, you're on mute.
Pardon me?
She's on mute.
Heidi, you might have to unmute her. I don't think her buttons work tonight.
I'm trying right now. I can only ask her to, so this
There we go.
might not work.
There we go.
go.
All right. Thank you, Heidi, for doing that. Sorry, I still have my little waiting button going around. Yeah, I think we've thoroughly gone through this ordinance 21-02, and I think it's ready to become one of our ordinances to put in the book. I'm in full support. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any other comments from council? If not, anybody from the public have a comment on this item?
I'm sorry,
Very
Mr.
good.
Mayor, I apologize. Pearlie was, or not Pearlie, Mr. Colberg was muted and I would like to comment on the council section.
Yeah, I'd just like to say that I agree with this, and it's about time. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other council comments? Go back to the public. Anyone from the public comment on this? If not, we'll close public comments. What are your wishes, council?
I make a motion, we adopt ordinance 21-02.
Second,
All those in favor, Colberg,
Aye.
Morrison,
Aye.
Rojas,
aye.
Nathan,
Aye.
Sweat,
Aye.
motion passes.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
Mr. Campbell did join us. He's on the line now if you want to ask for his vote.
okay. Does he want to say anything on the last item?
No, I'm good, Mr. Mayor, and I vote yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on, resolution 2105, resolution, City Council, City of Sedovia, appointing election judges for the regular municipal elections to be held on October 6, 2020. Heidi, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is on page 8 laydown. It comes around every year. For election judges this year, we have Greg Wolfer, Kathy Giles, Kate Holman Billmeyer, and Jen Swick for the alternate. And I would just like to make a note that the declaration of candidacy closes on Monday, August 17th at 4:30 p.m.
Thank you. Council comments?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, go ahead.
Yep, I'm in full support of resolution 21-05 and like to thank those volunteers for stepping forward to help us out with our election. Thank you.
Anyone else? If not, we'll move to public comments. Anyone from the public comment on this item? Hearing none, we'll close public comment. What are your wishes, council? We
I'll
need
make a motion we accept resolution 21-05.
Second,
Second.
All those in favor, Colberg,
Aye.
Campbell,
aye.
Morrison,
Aye.
Ross,
Aye.
Nathan,
Aye.
Sweat,
Aye.
motion passes. Unfinished business, none. New business. Excuse me. One discussion, KBSD Smart Start Plan with Principal of Jeff Ambrosia. Cassidy?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This evening, we've invited our principal, Jeff Ambrosia, to join us in the conversation. The school district has been in planning for the upcoming school year. School date to start is August 24th, and we had a parent principal meeting last week, and I invited him to come discuss the plan for Susan B. English in our community with the council and as well as with the greater community. And I'd like you guys to welcome Mr. Ambrosia.
Thank you.
Hello,
Mr.
good evening,
Ambrosia.
Mr. Mayor and the rest of the city council. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes,
All right. Well, thank you very much
Yes.
for inviting me to speak tonight. I've just got a couple of three short things that I'd like to discuss. The district has been in contact with myself, and then we had 2 other teachers participate last week in what we call the Leadership Academy. That would have been Karen Bornheimer, as well as our new teacher, Allison Miller. And we came up with what we're terming our Smart Start plan for Seldovia and the Susan B. English School. And the first part of that is plans for instruction. We do realize the value in having kids in the classroom as long as it can be done in a safe environment. And so the district is following the CDC's guidelines for physical distancing, things like that. And so we do have a plan in place to conduct instruction for those kids. For those parents that don't necessarily feel, for whatever reason, that they don't want their child in class, they can still remain part of the Susan B. English community and the Susan B. English school and family and participate by remote learning. And that will look a little bit different for every child, depending on that child's needs as well as the child's grade. And so they have that option of being in person or having a remote learning experience, or they can always choose to be homeschooled. And we will have families that choose that program. And so that they will have a choice of either joining Connections program or another program such as IDEA. So that's the first thing we talked about and are making plans with. The second one is just enhanced cleanliness and enhanced cleaning stations. So Renee is a fantastic head custodian, and she's on board with doing what we need to do to make it clean, such as every time a cohort of kids or a classroom of kids vacates an area and might move to a different location, that area will be cleaned throughout the day following district protocols. And then the third thing is after school activities, which we haven't talked to the community yet, because that seems to be an ever-changing plan. But for right now, the community, if they want to have an after-school event at the school, they just need to follow or file a mitigation plan with Kevin Lyons, and that outlines their behavior and their actions of what they want to do, how they're going to do it, how are they going to follow the social distancing and physical distancing requirements, and then that would be approved by Kevin Lyons and his staff. So those are the 3 main things that we've talked about. If you have any further questions, I can answer those. Hopefully, if not, I'll take hopefully good notes and come back with those answers. Teachers start tomorrow. And so that'll be everybody's first day. We're going to be outlining, going through our slides and presentation that we developed, coming up with more plans and suggestions, and we'll be having another community meeting later on in the week or the first of next week, because school has been delayed until August 24th, and that'll be the first day with kids in the classroom. So if my guess is we'll have that meeting towards the end of this week or beginning of next week with the community.
Thank you. Any questions, council?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I have one.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Ambrosia, for being here. I appreciate that. And I also want to applaud the district's decision to allow students in the classroom. My personal belief is I think that's the right decision. I know that's extremely controversial all across the U.S. right now, but I firmly believe that it's extremely important to get the kids in the classroom, and that value cannot be, you're not going to get that on a computer. So I think the teachers need to be with the kids and vice versa. My question is, in terms of the district's plan, what happens if there's a case in the school? Is it automatic closure, or is it quarantine, or what? I guess what's the plan?
Well, the plan right now is if a student were to contract coronavirus, then we probably wouldn't be the first ones to know. The public health would be the first ones to know. Although if a student does show up with symptoms, then we would be contacting their family, contacting the public nurse, and then they follow that protocol. But it wouldn't be an automatic school closure, but depending on the cohort of that group. And so when I say cohort, I'm referring to the group of kids that student is contracted around. And so we're going to do our due diligence to have those kids. So depending on the numbers of kids who choose in person versus remote, we might be adjusting our normal K-5 classroom down to a K-4. And so we might have a K-4 group, a 5-8, and a 9-12. And so if a student, let's just say, were to contract COVID in the high school, then those students in that cohort would be quarantined isolated until they can provide a negative test or that quarantine time, that isolation time is up. That's why it's very important for us to try to keep our kids in cohorts and smaller groups.
Yeah, it's almost like when I was a kid and growing up in Seward, we were all in elementary school. It was all pods, so that you were able to. That's where you spent your whole day. You were in your pod. So if something happens to that pod of kids or cohorts, basically, those will be kids. Those will be the ones that will be basically isolated.
Yes, sir.
Until they can get a positive or negative. Okay, appreciate
Yes, sir.
that. Yep, appreciate that.
Any other questions, council?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for participating in our council meeting. The question I have is, and I do applaud the school district, as Jeremiah said, that they are allowing the small schools to work on a different premise and that allowing the doors to open. Is there going to be a school lunch program is one question I have. And the other question is, within your, if it's going to be a K-4, K-5, and whatever your groups are going to be, will they be in one room, staying in one room to do their studies? I know K-4, K-5, Karen's room would be, but what do you see for the other classes? Are they going to be moving from room to room or stationary? Thank you.
Originally, we did have plans for those staff members to be switching, but we're going to have to take a look at our what we see as the enrollment and make adjustments to that. And so once we get those remote learning numbers, which the district had a short survey, but after I gave the presentation along with Mrs. Bornheimer and Mrs. Miller, we kicked out another survey to the parents, just trying to get a better idea. So once we have those numbers, we will probably adjust our schedule to hopefully keep those kids more in isolation. And as far as the food program, that's a fantastic question. The position now, it has been posted for a long period of time. It's closed. We conducted interviews, and I'm working with Diane Buchanan, the head student nutrition services lady, to hopefully secure a hire for that position by Monday.
Okay, thank you.
We are planning on serving food, hot food to the students in Seldovia this year. Yes, ma'am.
Great. Thank you.
Any other questions, council?
Yes, I have a question. Yes, thank you also for joining us here tonight. I have a question about the pool. Is it going to be open to the public?
Well, today I received a phone call from Mr. Lyon, and as of today, they are not planning on filling that pool starting in the next couple of weeks. Our hope is that in the coming weeks ahead, that our numbers will drop. Our not necessarily Seldovia's numbers, but the potential for numbers would drop, and then they would be allowed that to open right now, because currently Mr. Lyon outlined to me the process for allowing the school kids to swim, and that is basically prohibitive on our time schedule. And so I said our school kids aren't able to swim right now because their estimation that it would take roughly 135 to 150 minutes to get a class or cohort of 15 kids safely through a 20-minute lesson, because due to the physical distancing with the one shower that is located in the pool. So our kids aren't able to swim at this time. And so Mr. Lyon and Mr. Jones then, decided, that's well above my pay grade, but they decided at this time that the pool would not be filled.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, council? If not, we'll move to public comments. Anyone from the public care to comment on this? Hearing none. There's no action on this. It's just discussion. Any other comments, council? If not, we'll move on. To letter from the Sedolia City Council acknowledge and thanking Mike Kunz and Valerie, whatever, for the Sedolia Slough Bridge stairs. Heidi, you want to speak first?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If you guys look in your lay down on page 30, you'll see a nice letter that was outlined and drafted, thanking Valerie Granith with the Bridgekeeper Inn and Mike Coons with Mike's Welding for their contribution to the Seldovia Bridge stairs, or Seldovia Slough Bridge stairs. And Miss Vivian Rojas asked to put this forward, so I don't know if she wants to speak more on it, but that is there for council's approval. If you approve, we can have you sign off on it and we'll send that out to them.
Thank you. Vivian, you care to speak on this?
Sure, I'll just take a minute. I just thought that to recognize Mike and Valerie for their contribution to the community is important, that we always reach out to people when we are appreciative of what they've given to us. And I know there's more people in town and who always give back, but I just wanted to send a little thank you from the city council and the city of Seldovia and acknowledge them for their generous purpose of the Seldovia Slough Bridge stairs. And I hope the council agrees and we'll sign it and get it off to them. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone else? Comments?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
No, go ahead.
Yep, I just too wanted to chime in and say, yeah, it's pretty amazing. This is when you see stuff like this happen in small towns where it's just amazing generosity of people to come out and do stuff like this. It moves me every time I see people just do stuff like this. I mean, that is a considerable cost to do something like that. You're giving up land, et cetera. So it's pretty amazing to see the effort that went behind that. It's a super good safety enhancement over in that area that was much needed. So kudos to everyone involved. I truly appreciate it. And I think this is, yes, I'll be in support of the letter. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other council comments?
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I've never been a big fan of fishing off the bridge because of the risk of injury, and I'm in support of the letter. They've done a big service to the community, doing away with a whole lot of risk for injury. So I will be in support of the letter.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I just have a quick comment. I just want to say too that the stairs are beautiful, and I'm definitely in support of the letter. And thank you to both of them for just doing that for the community.
Thank you. Any other comments, council? If not, we'll move to public. Any comments from the public? Hearing none. So you have direction, Cassidy, to do that letter?
Yeah, I think if we can get all of the council's signatures at a certain point, then we can send it off and get that underway to them.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Excuse me.
if we could just get a quick motion to approve the letter, then that way we'd have that on the books.
Great.
We
I'll
got a
make a
motion?
motion, Mayor, you bet. I'll make a motion that the city council of the city of Seldovia accept the letter acknowledging and thanking Mike Kuntz and Valerie Granith.
Second.
All those in favor, Kohlberg? Kohlberg?
Aye.
Campbell?
Aye.
Morrison?
Aye.
Rojas?
Aye.
Nathan?
Aye.
Threat?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Moving on, city manager hiring process 2020, interim city manager. Heidi?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I know we spoke briefly about the process at the last city council meeting, but I wanted to bring this back to the city council just to discuss a couple of items so we can move forward. Starting on page 67 of the regular packet is a draft outline of the city manager candidate selection calendar. And first off, I just wanted to check and make sure that those dates worked with the council and what they were envisioning. The application close date was set for a 6-week period, so it's not going to close until the 15th of September, unless you guys want to move that up. We have had 2 candidates to date. I did send that job description or the city manager job description to AML, and it is on the website. So we've had two candidates applications. If with that 6-week date, that would leave interviews to begin in October, and second interviews beginning of November-ish, depending on how that would work for a candidate. And leads me to my second question, is that hiring process is a long process, and especially without having a chief of police at this time. My question to the council is what if they would be interested in hiring an interim. I did place on page 69 of the packet a list of interim municipal managers that AML has on their website that are retired or city managers that are from the past that are willing to step in these kind of situations. And just with that option, if that's something that the city council would like to consider, knowing that it could be 4 to 6 months or longer.
Okay, council comments?
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and we've got a big task in front of us. I suppose that if we do not get, it's a short period of time that we're looking at advertising for this position, a short time, since that we're talking about closing on the 31st, depending on how council feels should we extend that now, or should we wait and see what we end up with at the end of the month? How does that process work if we decide that we need to reopen it? Can we just do that and then those applications would just carry forward? I don't know if somebody can answer that for me. And then as far as an interim city manager, I would say, yes, we need to look at an interim city manager to help out the staff and keep things rolling and keep a forward process. Again, we've got a big job ahead of us, and hopefully we will have some great candidates. I just don't know about the time frame. I'd just be curious to hear the rest of the council's opinion. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, George.
well, I for one haven't given up on convincing Cassidy to hang around for a little while longer. I received an email from a person applying for the police job. I think most of us on the council received it. The guy has a pretty good law enforcement background. He was willing to serve as an assistant city manager and the police chief for the same money. I've been pleading with Cassidy myself. I'm sure some of the rest of us have as well, trying to find some way that we could make a situation that she could live with. I'd like to hear some more of you folks comment on that pathway. And I talked to Cassidy today about what she might do. She is going to be reunited with her husband tonight, so they may have some things to talk about. But let's not close the door on this chapter until we've tried all the different tools that we have here.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
yeah, I would love that idea, but I think we need to know, is that a possibility? Cassie, I'm not sure if you're willing to step forward and answer that question. You're pretty adamant about that when you moved on, you were moving on. Is that something, are you considering? Because if that's something that is still possible, then we really need to know that in order for us to move forward with what we have in mind. So you can tell me I don't want to talk about it right now, or we can discuss it later, or you're contemplating. But if you have an opinion that you want to share, because I think George is correct, we'd all be totally happy to have you in some position with us, but I thought it was pretty clear, your decision. If you wanted to speak to it, that'd be great. If not, discussion continue with the council. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Any other
Mr. Mayor, I'd be happy to provide some input and some background. I appreciate George really remaining hopeful and trying to hang on to what we've got going on here. I really do. I've considered this at all angles. I have considered, you know, having a scenario where I could work from home, and that city manager needs to be on site. They need to be there for their team. They need to be available. And that's something that I don't feel I have. I don't even have that right now, but I'm willing in the next few weeks in order to get us to a place where we can move forward. The clock is ticking. We are having the window closed ever so quickly. And I think as of right now, I am not considering reconsidering. I think that the city will be better served with somebody that can commit completely, and I cannot do that. I do hope that this is an opportunity for the city to pursue a candidate that has the qualities that you appreciated in me, and hopefully you find a candidate that has some of that drive and momentum that we've been able to establish. But right now I'm not reconsidering, and I recommend that the council does make a decision on how they're going to approach the interim position, and also how they want to approach staggering and creating that process for the permanent position, because it is a long process.
Thank you. Any other comments, council?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, John.
Yeah, two things. One, I think we need to hire an interim. And the second one is we should extend the deadline now. Because if we wait and there's a really good city manager on the list already, and we extend the deadline a month later, that's going to send a really bad message to them, and they may just turn and walk away. So I think we should do it now before we get people set up. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments, council?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Jeremiah.
Yeah, I mean, it probably does make sense. I mean, I don't want to delay. I mean, I think Cassidy's pretty clear in, you know, her direction here. Although I too was holding out hope. Yeah, I think we should probably, I would agree, we should probably go ahead and extend it now. And then I just think we're going to have to get things moving once the application period closes to come up with a solution. I read the same letter. Yeah, I think that's an outside the box approach. And I would say, I mean, we know some of our problems here with both the police chief position and the city manager problem. And it all goes back to you're basically married to the job 24/7. And that's going to be a big problem. It's going to continue to be a big problem unless we think outside the box. So yeah, I'm definitely in support of us considering hiring an interim as well if this is going to go on too long, extending the deadline now, and then just all of us keeping an open mind and thinking outside the box about how we're going to, fill these positions, both the positions moving forward. So that's my opinion. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments from the council?
Yeah, I have a comment.
Anybody?
I totally agree. I think we also need to hire an interim manager because we cannot be without both. We can't be without a city manager and a policeman, I don't think. And I'm definitely in favor of extending that deadline. I don't know how far out we want to do it. What are you guys thinking?
Mr. Mayor, if I could speak to that, right now the deadline according to the website is September 15th, 2020. So that was a 6-week opening. So if you want to extend it longer, it would be after September 15th.
Could we make it October? Is that possible? October 15th? That's a month. I mean, we don't want to drag it out too long. I don't really know what a reasonable time is. What do you guys think?
Well, yeah, if I can just make a comment, Vivian, I think you wanted to say something too, but I was under the impression that it was, this is my mistake. I thought it closed 8:31 and we were agreeing to extend it to 9:15. So that's my mistake. I'm fine with 9:15. That's another month, or that's another 35 days. So I think if we drag this thing out much longer, we're going to be having some issues. So I guess my vote is to have it close on September 15th.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I misread it also. So I am comfortable with the close date of September 15th. I again was reading it October or August 31st, my mistake. So I think we could go, I would be comfortable with going September 15th. That's 6 weeks-ish. I'd be okay with that.
I agree.
Yeah, that's fine with me too.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with the 9:15 application close. I think that gives us a good amount of time to gather some potential city managers. And Cassidy, I totally respect your decision, and I hope we can all come to terms with that at some point and stop putting you on the spot. But, I respect your decision. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments from the council?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, just one more quick one in terms of the rest of the selection process. So there was other questions on here in terms of the interview, how fast or slow do you want to go? I think we just have Heidi set the schedule and I choose that we go in a little bit of the faster mode so that we can move things along. We've been through this process before. We know there's going to be a back and forth. We know there's going to be a series of interviews. So I think we just keep the pressure on. And once we have a good core group of candidates that we're going to interview, then we just get the process moving and hopefully work through it and make a final selection.
Thank you.
I would agree with that, going the fast mode. And then with that, when we get everybody's opinion on that, if we could go over how the interim city manager decisions or choices would happen, if somebody could speak to that. But I agree. Let's go with the faster mode, and Heidi's done a great job of options there just to set the schedule, and we work with it.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I just have a comment. I agree with that too. We just need to kind of fast track this if we can. I mean, we're really in a pickle having 2 people out. So, yeah, and I would like to know too, because how do we pick the interim manager? I mean, what's the process? What do we do? I can't remember. How'd we do it last time?
Mr. Mayor, I can speak to that if you'd like.
Go ahead, Heidi.
So for the past 3 times, Cassidy Cameron has been here and able to step into those shoes. Without her this time around, I recommend that we reach out to AML, and then from there we can reach out to potential candidates on the list that AML is aware of that would be available for this time period in this area. And once we get that confirmed with those candidates, then we bring it back to the state council to discuss.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Who is that?
Vivian, sorry.
Okay, you've had 4 comments already, so make this one quick, okay?
Okay, the quick one is a conversation that we all need to have at some point, and it may be in a workshop or something. Is the interim city manager without a policeman on site? We need to determine what we expect that city manager to do when we do not have a police chief here. And I think we need to be very clear as to what we're talking about. As before, where we got in a situation where we had to pay a person money for what they were not necessarily doing on their duty list. So I think that's a conversation, an honest conversation we need to have as a group, how to work that out. And when this person asks or is being told, when they ask what other jobs or duties do I have, is that going to be one of them? So I think that's a discussion that we need to have. And I'm not sure in what venue that's going to be, if it's going to be in a workshop when we start working through this or not. But thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone else? If not, we'll go to public comment. Anybody from the public care to speak on this? Hearing none, close public comment. What are your wishes, council?
Oh, we can speak now?
Do we want a motion on this or not? No.
I guess I'd ask Heidi, does she need more clarification from the council?
No, I think with that, I can move forward. I'll keep the date at 31st, and we'll just keep hopefully the candidates coming in. Would the city council like to consider having a committee for this? A city manager hiring committee to help out with the process, besides just in the city council setting?
I'm sorry, Heidi, you kind of broke up a little bit, but you said we would keep the application period open and closing on September 15th, 2020. Is that correct?
Yes, sorry about that. Yes, we'll keep the closing date as September 15th, 2020. And I can reach out to AML about the potential for interim city managers. And then I guess my last question is whether there was a council member or two who would like to be a part of a committee, a city manager. Would the council want to consider having a city manager hiring committee to help with these things through the steps between council meetings?
This is
I
Vivian.
vote no.
Sorry.
Who was that voted no?
I was Pearlie. I don't think that we need a committee. I think that's our job, isn't it?
That's the council's job, as far as I know.
Yeah, Heidi, I think, are you referring to like some of the, if there's any administrative questions, just having someone to bounce the process questions off of versus having to wait to come back to a full council meeting or call a special meeting or a work session?
Exactly. If there was a council member or two, and then the staff, Jan and myself, that we could refer to with those council members and ask those questions just during the process until the council meeting comes, and then we can discuss that process with the council. And of course, the final say on all decisions comes back to the council. But
yeah, I think it's not a bad idea.
Process.
It's not a bad idea, just so we can move the process along, because guaranteed there's going to be a few questions. So Yeah, I mean, if the council doesn't object, I'd definitely throw my name in to be part of that process. In the, in between meetings there, that's fine. If there's anybody else that wanted to join in as well.
Right. If you need somebody, Heidi, I'd be willing to help out. If you need a couple of people or however many you need.
Yeah, I support that as well, and I'd be willing to serve there if you need it. I assume also we're going to get some input on that committee level from the current city manager. Yes.
Comfortable enough to give input on the process. I do feel that there is a boundary that I need to establish when having any access to any applicant information or anything like that. So I can help along, and I was part of the committee when we hired Todd Larson. And I will pull that file out for Heidi's assistance, just to kind of show her how we built that process up.
Thank you. So we don't need any action on this item. Heidi?
I think that's a great start, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Nobody has any other comments? We'll move on. Administration report, treasurer's report. Do we have a treasurer's report?
Not this evening, Mr. Mayor. And I apologize, there isn't a chief of police report either. That was my mistake.
Okay. City manager's report, see lay down.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm pulling it up here. Page 31 of your laydown. Following, hold on, get an idea. Yep. Following the city manager's report is a letter that I drafted to Dr. Zink and sent to her office, as well as her epidemiology team, the governor's office, the regional public health nurse, to request that communities with populations under 1,000 receive data related to COVID-19 for their communities. Right now, we are not included in any communications of any case data that's related to COVID-19. And where we have been advised and suggested by Governor Dunleavy's office and Dr. Zink to create data-driven policies and mitigation plans that are geared off of data and information in our community. We lack that data. And for us to effectively develop these policies and implement them, we need that critical piece of information. I received an email from Dr. Zink saying that their epidemiology team is in discussions this week regarding this. They have sent my request on to legal. I have conferred with our attorney on this because the statute that they are referring us to is statute 7 AAC 27.897 and 893, where initially they're saying, essentially they're saying that we are, that communities with populations under 1,000 aren't privy to that information. And I tend to disagree with that policy based on what 27.897, where it allows DHSS to compile information that does not have identifiable health information in it and report a summary to communities without giving any specific details regarding the patient. And I'm hoping that we can make some progress on this front. I've included the Kenai Peninsula School District because they are essentially in the same quandary. They've developed plans that are based on case data in the communities where their schools are at, and they don't necessarily get that information. And I think it's a vital piece of information if we want to effectively mitigate COVID-19 and what it's going to look like for our community. If we have 1 or 2 cases and we don't know about it, I don't think that that's a very effective way to mitigate a case or 2 cases or mitigate the pandemic in our community. So on that at this point. Okay.
Wait, I'm sorry, what did you say, Cassidy?
Did you guys have any questions or concerns?
Well, I just want to make a comment. You know, you and I had discussed this just briefly, and I totally agree with you. I think it's totally off the wall that we don't get those cases reported. And the other side of the coin is we do not need to know anything at all about that patient. I mean, I don't understand if that is something that they're concerned with, why it's even a concern. So I'm glad that you're pursuing this, and maybe you can get them to change their minds about that on a state level. So thanks for doing that.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, Cassie, I would totally agree with what you've put forward. And I guess I would like to show my ignorance in that I thought that we were already would be, if there was an identified COVID case, that we would have notification, not names, nothing, just a case. And I was working under that premise, which I feel totally ignorant that I was, and that we don't have privy to that. It's absolutely absurd when we're trying to make mitigation plans and coordination of how we would take care of it in our situation. So I sure hope with her meeting she's in, and that who you CC'd it to will get a response. But I would say that we need to stay on that. And I totally appreciate your time and effort and being on top of it. Thank you.
I've been trying since May.
Wow.
I've been trying regularly since May. But I'm going to hope for the best, and I'll keep you guys posted with any of the outcomes.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, John.
Yeah, I would agree with Vivian. I think it's ludicrous. It just shows a total lack of competence on the state level about how to deal with a pandemic. Keeping it a secret isn't helping anybody. It's just making our job more difficult. Thank you. Thank you, Cassidy.
Any other questions for Cassidy?
Yeah, it's Burley.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I thought we were getting that information in other areas. I know Seward has so many cases, and I think they keep it updated on the news, don't they? I would assume before they put it on the news, they must inform them, cities and towns, that I think that information's out there.
Well, we're less than 1,000 people, Pearlie, so they don't have to report cases to us. Seward has more than 1,000
Okay.
people.
Okay, sorry, my misunderstanding.
Any other comments, questions?
Okay,
Councilwoman
I'll keep
Dunn?
moving on.
I'm sorry.
I'll keep going through my report if there were no further questions on that letter.
Okay.
Okay. So as you guys know, our coronavirus relief fund grant program is open. It's open to businesses to apply. The closing date is September 1st. To date, we've have a total of 4 applicants. And once the date closes, the September 1st date arrives, we'll start that review process and hopefully getting that money put it back into our community. I encourage the business community to take advantage of this opportunity, and we're here to help. Related to that is tomorrow night, the Kenai Peninsula Borough Assembly is having a special meeting to discuss their CARES funding allocation that they have received. As you received about $37 million in CARES funding, and through their grant program, they made a portion of that available to unincorporated communities. Well, there's through a series of meetings with city managers, mayors, and communities, there's been a reconsideration put back on the table where the borough is reconsidering the allocations and going to propose to include incorporated communities and businesses in that funding in their grant program. Hearing is set for tomorrow evening. I've included the memo and the resolution, as well as the proposed allocation schedule coming from Brandy Harbaugh in the finance department. So if that passes tomorrow evening, they will revise their current application to be able to include the incorporated cities. From what I understand is that they would distribute that extra money through the municipalities, and then we would then distribute that out. So we would partner with the borough on their CARES money, and the city of Seldovia, based on the sales tax and property tax receipts through the borough and their calculations, is about another $100,000 that we can have available to us to put back into the community and back into the business sector. Once we get, if it passes, we will go through a process where we analyze the dollar figures, but then reanalyze our current grant program, and we'll have to make some modifications to some of the dollar figures that are currently in the system, and start being able to disperse that out. The one of the negative aspects of this is that the CARES fund needs to be spent and pushed out and spent by December 30th of this year. So it's a very short window to get these funds out, but I do believe that if we have something already built and in place, that we can easily address that and get those funds pushed out. So once again, I do encourage the business community and the business sector in this community to please take the time, take the extra hour, whatever it is, to fill out these applications and get that information to either the borough or us, so that you can receive that that funding. It's no strings attached. It's money. It's out there. And if we want to make up for some of the lost revenues and the negative impacts that COVID has caused many of us, then please apply, and please engage with either us or the borough. Let's see, our audit started today, so we are in definite crunch mode. We have Altman and Rogers in our offices right now, and we're working very hard. Thankfully, Jan and Heidi and myself worked all day on Saturday in the office to get things kind of prepared, but we are spread pretty thin this week. So I just want to put that out there, that we are in our audit mode, and it is it's a little hectic. Today was a little bananas, but we made it this far. 4 more days. Sorry, I'm trying to find my report and I'm not finding it. There we go. So the police chief position, I've had probably about 6 candidates. I'm working with our public safety consultant through JIA. Him and I have worked together on previous police hires. And so I kind of contact him. He knows pretty much everybody and their dog, so he's able to help me facilitate that process a little bit quickly, more quick than me just looking on paper and thinking that somebody is qualified. So we are still keeping the position open and hopefully have some idea of a good candidate to propose. But with the clock ticking, I'm hoping that there is somebody on council that would like to be engaged in this process. So at least they will be privy and be on step with kind of where we are in the process of getting that position filled, and also know that the candidate is experienced enough and ready enough to jump into the position. So if there's anybody on council that would be interested in giving a little bit of extra support during this time, we would appreciate it.
I'll help out with the policeman part.
I appreciate that.
And I will as well.
Thank you, George.
Are you good with 2, Cassidy?
I'm okay with 2 right now. Thank you, Vivian.
Okay.
So let's see. The audit, Lollipop Park, we are doing the installation. How can you miss it on Main Street? They've been getting the footings in, but they're going to start hopefully pouring concrete tomorrow. Weather permitting. I think the weather's going to hold out for them, and then they'll have to establish that fence line. They've got to extend that fence line and redig those posts. So it's getting closer, and we're grateful to have Jim Hopkins helping us out, not only with letting us use some of his smaller, more manageable equipment, but just being on site and helping out there. So if you see Jim, give him a big thank you on the city's behalf. The Alaska Marine Highway system published their winter schedule. I think it came out this morning to the public. I had gotten a draft late on Friday. I think it's important to note that the open comment period for the Alaska Marine Highway winter schedule is only 7 days. I don't know if that is just a strategy that DOT is taking because they don't want to listen to a bunch of people complain about the significant cuts that they made this year. Once again, Seldovia was on the chopping block and we got chopped. We have zero, I'm going to say that again, 0 service for 7 months. And it's absolutely, it's frustrating and it's unnerving and it's unacceptable, especially where the Alaska Marine Highway work group hasn't made its recommendations, and the scheduling DOT did not take into consideration anything that the work group has been doing at this point. So I drafted a letter quickly today, but at least because I've been kind of in the trenches with this, I already had the words in my head. But I did draft a letter that I think that we, with the council's signatures, that we need to send to the Alaska Marine Highway as well as to Representative Stutson and Senator Stevens regarding the lack of ferry service. I was in a conference call last week where the Alaska Marine Highway Working Group requested that we made comments and kind of gave feedback. They asked for feedback, if you remember the letter that we last meeting. They wanted feedback on the amount of ferry service that each community was receiving, and to just describe what minimum ferry service would look like. And they wanted to take that information into account with the work that they're doing of trying to restructure the ferry system. And in lieu of writing a long drawn out letter that restates what we've been stating for the last 6-7 years, the director of AM asked all of us to video. He recorded all of our statements so that we would have a face that goes along with our message. And we recorded that and sent that off to the work group. It was Thursday afternoon. And on Friday, the schedule comes out. And the sentiment that I conveyed to the work group and also in this letter is that we have a concentrated number of ferries. Our ferry service is 3 ferries per week for 3 months. That's a little excessive in my opinion. And my suggestion is to take those 36, those 38, 40 ferries, whatever it is in that short amount of time, and spread the same number of ferries out throughout the year so that we are not stuck without any transportation and any way of getting back and forth reasonably and cost effectively and during a winter storm when it's January or February. It's creating a inequity to small communities that are trying to survive year round. We are, while we do rely on a seasonal type of an atmosphere, I'm looking at 7 people right now that live here year round. And there's hundreds of us. We need to be able to get back and forth. I'll stop right there. I get so upset about this. So if there's anything that you would like changed or edited on the official comment from the city of Seldovia, please let me know. The comment period closes on the 14th.
Are we getting this word out to the, I know it just came on and I was actually informed about it because somebody read Chatterbox. This is a huge, huge deal that they're trying to propose. So the community, I would imagine, are going to be able to fire in comments, but is your letter attached? Is that what you said, Cassidy?
Yeah, it's on page 46.
Okay, I haven't had a chance to read it. I just cannot believe that they're gonna, so the sailing's gonna happen Kodiak, Homer, and out west. They're gonna continue going by Seldovia and never stop here. Is that the deal?
Correct. They have
my
taken
word.
the high cost, low ridership communities out. And that was a recommendation that came out of the reshaping report earlier in the year. If you remember, I went down to Juneau and testified at the Transportation Committee, House Committee, and we were urging the House Committee to, the Transportation Committee to review not just the reshaping report, but the McDowell Group study that was made by Southeast Conference in 2016. One of the arguments that is happening right now is that the ferry needs to be profitable, and public transportation does not need to be profitable. There's no ability for it to be profitable. This is a service. This is not a luxury cruise line. This is not a full service of a organization. This is providing transportation services just like the Dalton Highway, the Seward Highway, any other state-run maintained highway. I doubt that any of those highways are making any revenues or is profitable. It's just it's a government service and it needs to remain as such. Yeah, they can cut costs and they can bridge that gap between the excessive amount of costs and the ridership and try to increase it, but to cut it to cut our legs out from under us, it's unacceptable.
And I really think the ridership, if it was a ferry that we had once a week or once every other week, they would see ridership go up. They also need, what I think about is like caravan transfer. When they bring over stuff, they're not bringing over just caravan transfer stuff. They're probably bringing over 10 different individuals' belongings. And so that means there's 10 riderships that are on those trailers. And that needs to be considered. I am disgusted with the concept. And I'll do whatever we need to do to at least get one ferry a week or every other week. It's absurd. They're floating right by us.
Can you hear me?
Cassidy?
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I agree with Vivian. You need to put the numbers in for the billions of dollars spent on the paved roads with zero return for the state versus a marine highway system that charges 16-mile trip for 32-mile trip for almost $200 is kind of ridiculous. It's not supposed to make money, and it is the only part of the Department of Transportation's road system that actually has money coming in from people using it. They need to cut some of the spending on the paved roads and put that money back where it belongs in the ferry system. I totally agree with you. To me, it's time to replace a bunch of politicians and get rid of some people in the DOT. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Any other comments?
Yeah, Cassidy, just, I'm sure you know this anyway, but I've spoken to most of the commercial users of the ferry, Russ Gagel in particular. He'd be perfectly happy with one trip a week. And the state is violating their own policies by doing what they're doing. They obviously would increase ridership if they had fewer ferries coming here, and we'd be happy with that. I believe we would anyway.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I just have a question. So exactly how often are we going to have service? Or are we not going to have any service at all?
None for 7 months.
We're not going to have service. So the Kennecott goes back down to the Gulf, October 1st. The Tustumena goes up into layup on October 1st.
So, okay, well, never mind. I'll just talk to you about.
Any other comments on this issue?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, one quick one here. Yeah, Cassidy, I'm definitely in support of the letter. I mean, it's almost beating a dead horse here. We had the same conversation numerous times over the last year here on this. And yeah, people just need to understand. And I think most people that live here do understand the importance of this. I mean, without a ferry system, our community can't grow. It can't prosper, and it is going to have a hard time to continue to conduct any kind of economic activity. So it's tough. You can't bring house packages over on airplanes. And I mean, you can bring a lot on an airplane, but there's a lot of things that we depend on our marine highway for, just like every other community depends on their road highway. So no different. We've made that point before. I just don't think people down in Juneau, specifically within DOT, I just don't think they give a crap, and they don't care. It's as simple as that. They've all got money problems, but to completely cut our legs out and give us nothing, that just, I agree, it's not even close to fair, and it's time to clean house down there. They need to start mandatorily forcing people to retire, get them out. They need to get people in there that have a whole different train of thought on what it takes to run that department within our state government, because it is not being run correctly. It's been driven into the ground. So that's all I'm going to say. So yeah, there could be a lot more words, harsher words in your letter, but I mean, obviously I think it's going to continue to fall on deaf ears. And I'm sure every community, that relies on the ferry system has got a couple of these headed to Juneau. So thank you for your efforts though.
Thank you. Any other comments? If not, we'll move on to Chief of Police report. See Laydown?
No,
There is none.
Mr. Mayor,
Okay.
I have just a couple of more things and then I'll wrap up my report. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Remember if a few weeks ago we have some lift station issues that are going on. The pumps that we're at basically 50% capacity at the north end lift station, and we've sent the pumps up to Alaska Pump to be repaired. The quotes came back to be about $8,000 a piece on repairs. To purchase a new pump is we've been quoted about $12,000. Kevin Sherman and he's been a godsend. He's been here all week and we've been looking at ways and considering, what our options are and what the best options are. I pulled VSW into the conversations as well. They've provided some reasonable options in terms of in terms of a low interest loan that has a good chance of being forgiven depending on certain circumstances in the community, and we would qualify for some of those forgivenesses up to I believe it was 80% forgiveness. Nope, 90% forgiveness. I don't want to make it too high. So it's a micro loan program, and I'm gathering all of the details to have you, the council, consider that option for us to move forward and make these long needed repairs to our lift stations, but also get the pumps up and running in a functional fashion so that we don't spend a lot of time and effort on those critical infrastructure systems. Related to this is the VSW preliminary engineering report for the infiltration of the sewer septic holding tank. And Katie Winter is the new VSW head engineer, and her and I have been talking about this process and trying to get it to move forward. So she is moving forward with that PER, and we should be seeing hopefully some engineers down here evaluating our system. But as you all know, our water and sewer infrastructure is old, it's outdated, it's aging, and it's failing in certain areas. And I want us to get to a point where we are operating relatively smooth. I don't want 14 karat gold pipes or anything like that. I just want something that is functional, is going to serve our community with little maintenance other than the regular maintenance schedules that our public works employees need to maintain. So I will bring that to you at the next meeting and hopefully have a good path forward on that. I think that's it. I'll stop there.
Cassie, just a quick question. Are the public works, are they manually still taking care of the lift station, the sewer lift
Yes.
station?
Yeah,
Sorry?
so they check it and they've been running. There's two pumps at each lift station, and the impellers and the electrical systems on one of them is just shot. It's been working and working and working. And when we have large clogs, for lack of a better term, in it, they just max themselves out, and that's why we needed to pull them and send them up to Alaska Pump. So we really need to get those up and running and get them worked out to make sure that they're functioning properly.
I agree. Thank you.
Anyone
And
else?
the loan you talked about, would that be for new pumps or was that for the repairs?
Well, it's up to $100,000. And depending on, Kevin and I kind of came to the conclusion of if there's a lot of life left in those pumps, I think it's worth a repair. You can usually get a lot of life out of those pumps unless it's just maxed out shot. And I think that the repairs would be to get us, to 100% functioning down there would get us in a good position. I would like new pumps on the shelf for backup and ready to go. And if that means, taking a microloan out for $25,000 or $30,000 in order to get us to a place where we're feeling comfortable and feeling that our operations won't be halted, I think that's a good place to be.
Yeah. Two on the shelf, two working and one on the shelf sounds real good.
For those of you who don't know, they found a small mop head in one of the pumps and some baby wipes and fish line and stuff in the other pump. And it's ridiculous what people are putting in there.
Yeah, and there's the flushable wipes aren't necessarily flushable. Well, I'll take that back. They're flushable, but they don't break down in once they get into the sewer system. And what they do is they start accumulating into those outfalls down at the lift stations, and they accumulate and they build up. I mean, there's these real long, very long, compact, it almost looks like some type of rope or vessel line. It's not tight, compact, and dense. And those wipes don't break down. And that is a huge issue, not just in our community. If you Google it, it's everywhere.
I thought they took
Causing
a
an
big
issue in a lot of wastewater systems across America.
Is
we put
putting
out a
in a
public-
macerator in
baby wipes. All
There
wrapped
isn't a
up.
macerator in the North End station, but they keep up. Those pumps were built before Continental baby wipes.
yeah.
Did we put out a public information on that? I know we talked about our last.
We did.
I did.
Okay, good. Okay.
We
great.
did. Heidi put one out, and we can put another one out as a reminder.
Yeah, I think that'd be good.
Any more
And
comments?
that's all, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
All right. Moving on, Chief of Police report, see lay down. Does anybody need
There's
time?
none.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, there is not a chief of police report this evening.
Okay, Harbor Master's report. Lay down. Public Works report, see lay down. Does
Mr.
anybody
Mayor,
want time to look at these?
well, Mr. Mayor, I'm looking at the city department projects. Is this under our city manager's report? I just have a question about the personnel policy development. Was that the item that the auditors said that we need to have in place? Is that what that is, Cassidy?
Yeah, it's been a dream of me and Heidi to get one in place, and it was upon the auditor's recommendation. But I think that it's, me, I like hands and well laid out sources of communication for not only employees but every aspect of my life. And I think that Heidi can speak to this. I know that we have our JIA personnel liaison working on it, but I know she got held up on something. But it is something that we thought that we could get done over the winter, and here we are in August. And when I mean winter, I meant last winter.
Okay, so do we have, okay, so it's an ongoing project that we hope to have done perhaps through this winter? For the next audit?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Moving on, information items not requiring action. The city clerk will be out of town August 18, 2020 through August 28, 2020. Also postponement of Monday, August 24th, 2020, city council meeting until August 31, 2020. Executive session none. Council and mayor comments concerning items not on agenda.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
Yeah, could we have a discussion about, you kind of bleeped out a little discussion on moving the council meeting to August 31st. My question is only because I'll be probably getting back from Homer late. I have a dental appointment in Homer if I go. If there's not enough on that agenda, or if we don't have enough for the agenda, because I had talked to the city clerk earlier, maybe we can, if we need more information on to have a work session about our city manager progress, maybe we could turn that into a work session later that week. But I mean, I would try to get back, but I was just gonna say, if we don't have enough for the August 31st meeting, perhaps we could turn into a work session if a lot of it is pertaining to our city manager hire. I'm not sure if that, just a comment and a question.
okay. Executive session none. Council mayor comments concerning that on the agenda. Colbert,
Oh, it's been a trying meeting in some areas, but I thank everybody. It was a good meeting.
Campbell,
Same. Thank you, everyone, for participating tonight. And yeah, that's all I got. Thanks to the staff.
Morrison,
Yeah, great meeting. Thanks.
Rojas,
Thank you, everyone, for your time and efforts. Appreciate it.
Nathan,
Appreciate the principal coming by, talking to us a bit. It was a fairly good meeting.
Sweat,
Yeah, thanks everybody for participating, and thanks for the girls, to the girls in the office, as always. And to the principal for joining us tonight. Thanks.
thank you. George, I need to ask you a question when I see you. Thank everybody for their work, council members also. Next meeting, regular meeting will be held Monday, August 24, 2020 at 6 p.m. Motion to adjourn, please.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Adjourn,
Second.
adjourn. Good night, everybody.
Okay, good night.
Everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Right.